Hey everyone, welcome into our Building Self-Serve Research Programs for Product and Design Teams webinar today. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're listening in from, and we will get started in a few minutes here.
Welcome everyone, thanks for joining.
I just started oh sorry, go ahead, Oren.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, I started a little icebreaker poll. What's your go-to coffee order? I'm like at the very end of my coffee, which is very tragic. It looks like you're just starting one, Oren.
Just starting one. Got a fresh one for the webinar, of course.
Love it.
Where do you see the icebreaker?
It'll look a little bit different for you, Murat, but you can, if you click on polls, you can see it in there.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, we can put it on the screen.
That's very cool.
Oh yeah, love it. Latte or cappuccino, the winner so far. Interesting.
It's my afternoon treat if I earned it that day.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, everyone feel free to drop where you're listening in from in the chat or drop your coffee order in there. Love to see it. Awesome. All right. Well, welcome in, everyone. My name is Sydney. I'm our product marketing manager at Rally, and I have some lovely guests with me today to chat about building self-serve research programs for product and design teams. So we'll do a quick round of intros, and then we will get started. So Lauren, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I am the Research Ops Manager at Contentful and a user of Rally and Ballpark. Excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. We are very excited to have you join us today. Oren, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Sydney, for organizing this, and Murat and Lauren for joining us. So I'm Oren, one of the co-founders and CEO here at Rally. We're building a user research CRM that makes it easy for research ops teams and their stakeholders to recruit and manage their participants for all types of research, whether it be interviews, surveys, unmoderated testing, many more methodologies. And instead of building an all-in-one platform, we've chosen to focus very deeply on building the best-in-class research CRM and then integrating with other best-in-class tools like Ballpark in order to meet our customers' needs and have a full end-to-end solution for building self-serve research programs, which is the fun topic of the day.
Perfect. Thank you, Oren. And yeah, Murat, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for having me. I'm one of the co-founders at Ballpark, and I spend a lot of time speaking to amazing companies like Contentful and working with amazing tools like Rally to try and figure out how we can streamline the way teams that are doing research, but often not with a research background. So lots of other people coming into the research process. And so we wanted to build something that could do both moderated and unmoderated testing in the same place, but make it as simple as putting together a presentation. So that's our goal with Ballpark. And hopefully through doing that, more people come into this, more people understand the end user and empathize with their needs and build better products and services.
Perfect. Thank you all for joining us today. This is what we will be running through. Let me pull this up on the screen really quick. So first of all, we are going to go through a little bit of a panel discussion with Oren, Murat, and Lauren. So if you do have questions, please drop them in the chat, focused on building self-serve research programs. And then we'll also go through live demos of how to use Rally and Ballpark in order to start to build self-serve research programs. And then towards the end, we'll also leave some time for questions. So yeah, again, feel free to drop your thoughts or questions in the chat and we will pull them up. And so let's get into our panel discussion, and I will bring everybody's faces back on. So the first question I was thinking we could start off with is, why does self-serve matter? So maybe Lauren, could you kick us off with that question?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I can speak from experience when we say at my company, we have a really great group of researchers, but sometimes they might get to capacity when it comes to what they're able to output in terms of our research. So research as self-service for people that are not doing specifically just research, but roles like designers and PMs really allows you to help out with overburdening, your research teams. It allows you to move faster, make some more informed decisions, and guide extra people to do the research that's needed within your company. At Contentful, we have a lot of teams that rely on user feedback. So allowing more people to do research with the right tools, the right guidelines is a really nice way to set that up, especially with tools like Rally and Ballpark.
Perfect. Thanks,
Yeah.
Lauren. Maybe, Oren, I'm curious if you can share from your perspective, because I know, we chat with a lot of ReOps managers like Lauren. If you could maybe share, like, what are some of the signals that you see that, make it clear that a company might want to start investigating a self-serve program?
Yeah, absolutely. So this actually ties nicely with another piece of content that our team recently released, the ReOps maturity model. That if you haven't seen it yet, we can drop the link. But really, what we've seen the typical trend look like within organizations is, of course, we look back, 5, 10 plus years ago. Not many companies were doing much research. Why? Because it was really heavy lift, difficult to find customers, difficult to run testing with them, to take them through that journey. So it was really reserved for the biggest projects possible, that big bet in the quarter or year. And then over time, as companies started seeing the value in that research that was being done, even though it was very intermittent and sparse, more people wanted to do research for their own projects because they found that, okay, if it was successful for that one project, then why not, do it for mine as well? So companies started hiring more researchers, and researchers were able to do more work and bring the voice of the customer into more parts of the product development journey. But then kind of the same dynamic that you see in a lot of companies started happening, where there were not quite enough researchers for the amount of research that needed to get done. There's always been a supply-demand mismatch with the number of researchers and the volume of research that an organization wants to do, especially as people start seeing the value of research, and people want their own taste of it for their own project. And so that's when we see companies start to think about and invest in building some sort of self-serve program with guardrails, with the right governance and systems in place, which we'll, I'm sure, chat about. Building the right systems to enable product managers, designers, marketers, others to connect with customers, so they don't have to wait in a queue for a researcher to do it themselves.
Perfect. Yeah. Lauren, I'm curious specifically from your role at Contentful, what were some of the, and maybe, there's likely going to be overlap with what Orange just shared, but what were some of the signals that you were like, okay, we need to start to consider some form of self-serve?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things like we talked or said before. Sometimes we had a really high demand for research, but we didn't have enough researchers at the time. So we were saying, okay, how can we set up a structure that other teams can also conduct research independently? But then again, we do know also at the same time, there's going to be, there were previously people running their own research, and it was just in a lot of different places. So we were thinking, okay, if there's ad hoc research without any best practices, if there's no self-service structure, how can we work on that to have templates or the tools or the training to make sure that we're having a better quality of insights? Because we know research is going on in a lot of different places, but we want to kind of centralize that. And I think it also, we noted there was sometimes duplicate efforts. We were seeing that research was being done in a few different places, or they were asking the same questions. So it was really nice to set up a self-service place, a space where we have those trainings, those tools, the tips, and a place that they know they can find all that information and know who to talk to. And then make sure, like I said, that they're not duplicating any efforts, and that it's all coming together to, that we have a better understanding of what's going on, and moving forward as a team.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I'm curious if anyone in the chat is experiencing or has experienced something like that. Please share, because I think it's great to get those kinds of conversations going and share ideas. So yeah, Lauren, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm also curious, I dropped this poll in the chat. What's your biggest challenge in building a self-serve research program? So, and I also noticed a question in the chat around ensuring quality. So Lauren, maybe you can just speak to that quickly about maybe some of the things that you've done.
Yeah, I think the quality thing is probably the most difficult when it comes to putting together research for non-researchers. But something we have set up is templates and tools. So we have a lot of spaces where there's training on maybe the best types of research you can do, how you could do that. Also within tools such as Rally and Ballpark, there's a lot of templates that your company can set up to have a standard of when you want to start a new project. You can go into your tool and you could say, hey, this is the basic form that you're going to have for your participants, or this is the basic template that we're going to use when we're running a study in Ballpark. And that has been really useful and something that everyone uses from now on moving forward, which is really nice.
Perfect. Yeah, Murat, maybe you can speak from the Ballpark side a little bit, just around what kind of things you have in place on the Ballpark side to ensure quality for the folks that are running research through Ballpark.
Yeah, so there's a few different things that we have, but one of the most common ones is we have the ability to set up areas inside a Ballpark where you can create projects for your team, and those projects can be the baseline projects that everyone uses, so similar to templates. We have a template library as well, which has several dozen templates in, which help people get up and running. And over the next couple of months, we'll be introducing more rigorous controls over that, so you can have someone who essentially signs stuff off before it goes live, before you click publish as well. So there's a few things that we have in place. But the one that gets used the most is often providing different roles for different people. So, some people may only need view access. Some people might need to be editors. We also have external roles. So if you're bringing in people who are outside the business, you can give them both edit and read-only access if you want. So a combination of those things are very helpful to make sure that you're not, you're not letting things out the door that you might not want. And the thing that you really don't want is people coming in and changing things and doing things that might break. So we have roles for that reason as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I know on the Rally side, we have some very similar structures in place. So Oren, maybe could you speak to that? Just like how the features and functionality within Rally can sort of empower people who may not have a research background to be able to run their own research safely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So when thinking about the Rally context, we are all about participant management and recruitment. So when you think of quality there, you're thinking of how do I make sure people on my team, designers, product managers can reach the right individuals and ensure that they're talking to the highest quality folks, because ultimately, as you all know, the quality of your outputs are going to be directly related to the quality of the participants that you're talking to, and ensuring that they're the right fits, that they're have the right backgrounds and demographics or firmographics that you care about. So that's where we really work really closely with and partner with our research ops champions is to make sure that you have the right participants or panels within Rally for you to recruit from. And then from there, it all comes down to governance, guardrails, and templates, to Murat's point, so that you can come into Rally, you have your swim lanes, exactly the direction you need to go in. You can launch a study, find the right participants, and seamlessly kick it off without too much of the mental overload of trying to figure out all the different pieces of the puzzle when it comes to recruitment and managing participants throughout that journey. So we try to make that, again, as seamless as possible with templates and governance in place. So you don't have to think about, oh, is this person okay for me to contact or not? It's taken care of.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And I noticed in the chat as well, there's a question here. Thoughts on having researchers conducting training versus people with learning backgrounds conducting training? Maybe Lauren, we can start with you. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. I think it definitely depends on what you're looking for training perspective on. When it comes to what specific type of research you should be doing, should you be doing an interview? What should that interview style be? What types of questions you should be asking? I think from a research perspective, I think that person might have the best answer to that. But I myself am not a classically trained researcher, but I do operations, and I'm also do training on tooling or do training on how to best run through a process. So I think this question is also who's the right person, and any type of learning also, like Paula said, is key. And who you're learning it from, that someone's giving you some information, I think that's just really helpful from your team. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Oren, go ahead.
No worries. Just from our perspective of seeing a lot of customers do training sessions internally as a core part of enabling research to get done. We definitely see, to Lauren's point, a combination of efforts. So it's always a team effort with a research ops person, ideally kind of leading the charge, building the operations around the training, so to speak, all the structure and the context. And then bringing on maybe a research advocate, someone who knows the process, can champion kind of the learning goals in and out for the rest of the team, and even having a PM or designer who's your kind of champion within that organization as well, to help guide people through the journey if it's their first time. So we typically see team effort can be the most effective as opposed to just one person trying to run it.
Yeah.
There was one thing I thought of with this discussion as well is often when we talk to teams, you see a lot of apprehension from non-researchers wanting to even try because they're just worried about making a mistake. You know, they're worried about spending money in recruitment. They're worried about getting the wrong answers. And I think there's just this point where you've just got to get started and try and remove that and just see the magic of getting a response for something, even if it's a two question survey, just to put your feet in the water and go, okay, like this is how it works, this is how to do it. Because often that fear will just paralyze moving forward and people wanting to make this part of their workflow. So we tend to do a lot of encouragement of just getting that first study or two out the door, just to get a feel for it. Because if you've never done it before, it can be quite scary, right? You're going to put something out, it's going to potentially, cost some money, and you don't know what's going to come back. So just to see, okay, that this is how I can fit this into my day-to-day work, whether you're in a sprint or or whatever part of the process it is. So we tend to do a lot of sort of workshops and things just to get people that first project is the first one, and then after that you're on your way.
Yeah, totally. I think there's also, from a research ops perspective, it's like, how do you do that training in a safe and controlled way so that, you don't have PMs and designers who are maybe reaching out to users for the very first time. So Oren, I'm wondering if you can actually share a little bit about what we've seen with customers in terms of like the onboarding experience with Rally, and maybe launching like practice studies in Ballpark using like a designated training team.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that goes into training, making people feel comfortable. And one of the things that we see a lot of our customers doing within Rally is creating sandbox environments. So spaces essentially where newer folks to research can come in, run through all the different workflows that they need to test things out without fear of messing something up. So they get that first sort of practice run before actually going out into the wild with their own research study. But yeah, I think in the chat, just taking a look, Peter brought up a very important point that, yeah, of course, it's beyond just the tools, the templates, good participants that go into good research. And I do think good research ops there really is the key, because I think good research ops does create the systems, the process for defining what research should we be doing versus not. Not every question is worth a research study. Could we go look at internal past research in order to get a good enough signal to move forward? And then research ops can also help and support with planning research and method selection, creating very comprehensive and value add research plans that help define the rest of the process, and then train folks on how to make sure that they're not asking leading questions or double barrel questions or the typical road bumps. So how I feel about it is that research ops can really be that unlock to enable good research to get done, especially when the individual researchers may be focused on their own research and don't have enough time to enable folks to do their own. And another just piece of this, what we have seen starting to come up in more and more organizations is a new role type called kind of a research enablement manager, or democratization manager, something of that sort. And it's a classically trained researcher who partners really closely with research ops, but their sole purpose is to enable new folks and train them on how good research should get done. So yeah, I think, Peter, this is a really important point. The last thing we want is to be flooding the world with bad research and useless insights. And yeah, I think research ops plays a really key role in enabling this.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious, Lauren, do you have any other thoughts to add to this?
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking about all these things that you were just saying. And one thing that we have set up that is really nice within our company is we have a tiered research approach. So we have a decision tree that anyone in our company could use. They go into this and they answer a few questions. And these could be, what are you looking to research? What stage are you at? How much impact will it have? And it gives an output of, hey, you need to go talk to your research ops manager, or, hey, you can go and do this yourself. Here's our self-service research information. Or, oh, this might be quite a big project. Why don't you reach out to one of our centralized researchers? So it's a really nice space that, like we've also talked about before, it's not just letting someone go off on their own, but have a bit of help from different teams. And if they do have that type of research that they can go do on their own, that we give them the tools to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, it goes back to sort of where we started at the beginning of this conversation, that it is a team effort. And so there's another question in the chat here that I'll pull up, and then, yeah, continue to drop questions in the chat, because we do have some time towards the end to get back to these. But let's take one more. So this one is, what would you say are the most common paradigm shifts we need to get non-research to experience in order to support successful self-serve? Lauren, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, sure. I think also something we mentioned before, that a lot of the times maybe people that are not doing research aren't fully going into research with being excited or understanding exactly what they're going to do. And I think having a training, and that could be anything from joining in on other researchers' projects, understanding how they do interviews and things like that, understanding what the best way of working is, and having the confidence to move forward with that. And being open to learning. I think that's kind of a big topic we also said, and sharing that with your experiences with others in your team, allowing them to have that space and have a bit of confidence is really nice.
Awesome. Murat or Oren, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I can go. So I'll say, obviously, there's a couple of things that are changing at the moment, especially around AI just being embedded in everyone's workflow, and what that really means to enabling you to ask a question in a way that is correctly structured, isn't leading, all those things. So that's something we're thinking about to help non-researchers remove the kind of barrier to getting started and go, okay, am I framing this right? Because for self-service to really work, you can't have someone ask you how to write every single question in their study. So it has to be truly self-serve to as much as possible. So those are things that we're looking at. Like you just we were talking about before, is how do you make it fine to make a mistake, like that, because that's going to happen, and make sure that people don't feel like, oh God, like, you know, if I mess this up, I'm going to get in trouble, or I'm going to waste the team's resources and stuff like that. So, you know, trying to make sure that the hardest part is just, and to inform people, the hardest part is just to start and, you know, work it into your workflow. Like, when does it fit into a sprint? When does it come into your linear tickets or Jira tickets? How do you make the space to go, right, pause for a second, let me just check if I can get 10%, 20%, 30% degree of more certainty on the direction, because everything's iterative anyway. So how do you just keep that kind of flow going? And I think, and we come at this obviously from the product team, sort of product designers, product managers sort of point of view, and we speak to a lot of those who are using Ballpark. So often it is just an awareness of these tools being available, and that they can fit into a process depending on how your internal process works, and making it okay to go, right, now got a bit of time, I'm going to spin up a study, launch it, you know, wait for feedback, and then, you know, move on to the next ticket, or, you know, whatever the task is. So, you know, those things we think about a lot, but yeah, you know, the goal is to encourage self-serve to go from you know, a small portion of someone's workflow to more, so they can, you know, constantly be up to date with what exactly their users are thinking and feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that integrated approach that you mentioned is really important, because, you know, at the end of the day, this isn't, it shouldn't be sort of like a one-off thing. It's like, if you truly want to enable a self-serve research program, it has to be ingrained into how the team operates day to day in order for it to be successful, I think. Oren, any final thoughts on this one?
I think they both nailed it.
Amazing.
So yeah, just on that, Oren kind of mentioned it at the beginning. Like, in the past, there'd always been this sort of way of thinking about research as a big bang. You had to do this big study, and it's going to nail it, and it's going to bring in these like great results. But the modern way that our teams work is very quick, and it's very iterative, and you spin through tickets on a daily or weekly basis. So you know, having that kind of home run, like nailed every kind of question that ever came up in this, you know, project is a single study. It's just really hard to do. If you break it down into bite-sized chunks, you know, it becomes a lot more attainable for a non-researcher to actually go off and do. And I think that's why we try to really encourage like 7 questions or less, you know, just get people moving and moving on to the next problem, which there are always many of. So I think that's another thing we constantly talk about with customers too.
Yeah. And that also really helps build momentum, build the velocity on the team, lower kind of the barrier to entry, so that people feel like, okay, I can do this low lift thing, and whatever happens, it's gonna be okay. We'll figure it out.
Exactly. And from a product designer's perspective, you're just trying to remove ways that you're wrong, so, or, you know, that you're not going to nail it. So, you know, everything that comes back hopefully can help you ship quicker as well, to something that people really want to use and love. So.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect. All right. Well, there's still many more questions in the chat, but feel free to continue dropping those in there. We're flagging them, and definitely will be addressing them in our Q&A time towards the end. But let's get into seeing how these tools work together. So, Oren, I will toss it over to you whenever you're ready to get started. Or Murat, I guess you're kicking us off. Perfect. Yeah. Whenever you are ready.
Cool. So, just share my screen now. Okay, hopefully you should be able to see my screen. All good?
Let me pull it up here. Just give me 1 second. All right, we're good.
So what we have here is a Ballpark. So what you can see on the screen is what you would see when you land into your Ballpark dashboard. You can create your live or unmoderated studies here. And what I'm going to do in this example, I'm going to go through the process of just setting up a blank study, just to show you how you add your questions and tasks. And then after that, I'll be going over to a project that already has a lot of questions set up. So one I made earlier, and then handing that over to Oren to put into Rally. So just to give you an example, you can start your project here. You can create it from scratch, or you can create using AI, as I mentioned previously, and you can just add a prompt in and it will generate your project for you. So you go into Ballpark, and this is where you build out your questions and tasks. On the right-hand side is where you edit your questions and tasks, and on the left is where you add your different either survey questions, usability questions, or tasks into the project. And as you can see here, there's things from rating scales to website tasks, Figma prototype testing, copy testing, card sorts, and so on. I'm going to go to a project I made earlier, just so I can show you what that looks like filled out. So I've got this project here, and you can see that now I've got the steps filled out. I've got some images. I'm recording it. I can record, if I wish, the audio, microphone, the audio, camera, and the screen. We've got a couple of multiple choice questions, and we also have a Figma prototype test here, where we've embedded a Figma prototype and we're looking for people to get through to a specific goal. And once they've done that, we'll be understanding whether our designs are working or not. And then a couple of follow-up questions, and there you have it. So it's very, very quick to set up, really visual, much more like Google Slides than it is maybe something more complicated. So it allows everyone to come in and be really familiar with the layout and get started. So now that I've got this set up, the next step for me is to grab the share link, and this share link will be what I give over to Oren, who will jump on and show you how this goes into Rally. And from there, we'll see how we close the loop back into Ballpark after this study's gone out in Rally.
Awesome. Thank you for the tee up, Murat. Just before jumping into Rally, I'll give everyone a quick high-level overview of what the platform does, and then I'll jump into the demo and kind of hand off where Murat left me. Essentially, at our core, we are a participant CRM. So Rally integrates deeply with your company's other systems like Snowflake, Salesforce, and BigQuery to pull in fresh participant data, make it easy for teams to find the right participants that they want to recruit for research. We also help with panel building and panel management, so that's kind of at the core. And then it's all about security, governance, and guardrails. So as a research ops, a research leader that wants to enable self-serve to happen, you know that it can only really happen with the right guardrails and governance in place. And so custom role types for designers or PMs that maybe you don't want them to see PII, maybe you don't want them to have access to your incentive system and only see certain types of templates or participant databases. So all that access control is possible. And then the layer where we'll be spending the most time is on recruitment. So this is once that designer comes into Rally, wants to invite participants to take that Ballpark test, they can build their study, define all the recruitment, outreach messaging, screening, capture consent, schedule if it's moderated, or send out an unmoderated test as well. And then lastly, close the loop with incentives. As I mentioned before, integrations are a big part of our value proposition. So deeply integrating with Ballpark to make it easy to send out those types of studies. All right, now I'm going to start sharing my screen and I'll add it to the stream. All right, so this is Rally in a nutshell. What you're looking at is your participant database here. So you'll be able to have multiple panels that you can build and manage. But from the day-to-day standpoint, as a designer coming into Rally, similar to how in Ballpark, you can create a new study. You can either build one from scratch and define the methodology, the name of the study, the language, or use a pre-existing template. For example, an unmoderated type study for designers. So here, I'm actually going to go into a pre-existing one to show you what the workflow looks like to build and then manage it. From here, you start with building your research plan. So the name of your study, we're going to do a banking study for today. How many participants do you want to test with? So we have a limit of 10 here. We're capturing consent because that's part of our compliance process, and then setting up an incentive. And again, all this can be templatized and locked down. So as a designer coming into Rally, they can build from a template and they don't have to think about all the ResOps pieces that need to be in place in order to successfully conduct a study. And then you can build a screener. So whatever questions you have with conditions and mapping to auto-qualify folks who will then inevitably go into your test. So with Ballpark, I'll take the link that Murat shared with me, add it into the test URL, and we take care of all the redirecting and management of the links so that you don't have to keep track manually of who actually received the test, who started it, who took it. We'll show you how that experience looks. Next up, you'll set up all your email templates for the study. So the screener, the actual test itself, and then the incentive. And this can all be neatly branded, again, and templatized and even customized on a study-by-study basis. Lastly, you'll define how you're going to invite folks to take the study, whether it be emails that you're sending or sharing a public link if you're getting folks from your sales team to invite participants, or you're sending it into a Slack community of some sort. You can create a public link. Lastly, you'll review the study, make sure everything is in place before you launch it. And when you hit go, the first step is to start adding participants into your study. So of course, this one is already live. So you see some action here in your Rally Control Center of how many folks have completed the screener versus actually completed the test itself. But we have a very robust filtering system for you to find exactly the right people from your participant database that you want to invite to take the test. So you can add whatever filters you want, select a random sample, add them to your study, and then with a few quick buttons, select the group, compose an email, send out the screener email, and with the click of a button, send out up to hundreds, if not thousands of emails at once. All right, I'll go back to you, Murat, to show what it actually looks like to analyze the results, and then we'll close the loop in Rally.
Thank you very much. So, let's say we are now back in Ballpark. Obviously the results have come in. I can now do two things. I can go and see the summary of those results, so I can start to look at how many people answered those questions, what the responses were to multiple choice, open questions, rating scales, and so on. How do people flow through the prototype? So what the different drop-off points were. Look at the heat maps, any click maps as well. But now when I go into the responses tab, what happens is we get back the source of the result from Rally. You can see that Rally is defined as a source. You get your participant ID and study ID back in Ballpark, so you can pick out who said what. And you can also do things like filter the table, show only specific study IDs or participant IDs in your responses. When you click on view, you can go into any response and you can get the transcription, the summary as well, any interesting quotes, and download that or share that or look at the individual's responses to the questions that have been answered. In the coming weeks, we'll be adding our live moderated feature to Rally as well. So you'll be able to start to tie those two together, which will be really exciting. So that's us closing the loop, and that's how you see that data inside of Ballpark 2.
Awesome. And now back to Rally. Once your participants have taken the test, I can see here we have 5 folks that completed the test. I can jump into my incentive tab, and again, with the click of a button, I can send out the incentive to my participants using our tremendous integration, or can send out custom incentives like coupons and gift card codes. And from Rally, again, you have one single place to manage all your participants throughout this journey, invite them to take the test within Ballpark, and keep track in one single place of how your participants are engaging with these studies over time, through rich profiling and building those profiles over time with the new data that you're collecting from these different studies. So, of course, much more to show and much deeper, I imagine, in both Rally and Ballpark than what we have time for today. But hope that was a nice overview of how the two platforms work to enable teams to manage self-serve recruitment and research.
Thank you both for walking us through that. I really like, seeing the entire workflow, even though it's a little bit of back and forth on the screen. But yeah, super interesting to see. All right, so we still have several questions in the chat and we have some time to go through them. So feel free to, keep dropping questions in the chat and we'll definitely answer them. The first one that I wanted to get to is this question. So regarding avoiding duplicating efforts, do our companies and products offer a way for self-serve researchers to see what others are doing and coordinate on that? Oren, maybe I'll pass this one over to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the core here is that in order to make sure people aren't duplicating efforts, is you need a centralized system in order to manage and track all the research that's getting done. So what's nice about Rally and working with Ballpark hand in hand is that you'll have a central platform for your teams to collaborate on studies, to see the type of research that's both active and complete, and give you a single source of truth for all the research that's happening in your organizations. And that's really what we see as the first step to avoid duplicating efforts. And then, of course, there's more kind of cultural things maybe that Lauren can speak to on how teams can, build the systems and culture internally to avoid that.
Yeah, totally. There's actually, sorry, Lauren, super quick. There's actually another question sort of related to this that we can also just throw in the answer is maybe, if you could speak to some of the examples and how you've been able to reduce that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to duplicated efforts, what I was referring to in the beginning is before you have a self-service program, it's possible also that you have different research projects going on in different spaces and they're not all in one centralized repository or space. I think once you have some tools set up in place, we can use, with Rally and also with Ballpark. Another tool we use is Dovetail for analysis, or you can create your own tool, whatever you're working with, making sure that you're setting up that system in place, that everyone knows that that's the place to go for all the research to be there. I think really putting together and promoting self-service also promotes, a best practices of research for an entire company. And I think it's also part of my role is to teach and to help guide people in that direction. And we have these great tools that also help us get there for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I am seeing in here. So we're working with continuous discovery methods involving the product trio from the beginning, including research. However, working with devs in participating in creating research plan has been confusing for them. And any tips for how designers can work with developers on this? I think this is really interesting.
Lauren is laughing, so she must have something.
No, I was thinking who's gonna go for this one first. I think, it's understanding that different roles have different perspectives on how they're gonna work within a program or a system. Both the tools, Rally and Ballpark, have really nice systems set up where you can have different types of users have different roles, such as someone that's just viewing the project. So for example, if you still want to have an understanding, a developer wants to see the project framework, who you're talking with, you can have them view your project. And that's also the same within Ballpark, to have that understanding of what's going on and to feel like they're also a part of the project in the meantime. I think on the other side of things, if you really want to bring them into doing the research, I think that takes a bit more involvement in saying, hey, we're going to do a bit of training, or to have understanding of why we're doing this research. And if you want to add your perspective in, maybe bring them in on, setting up research questions or guidelines, or have their input on who they think also might be important to do interviews with. I think this all kind of ties back to just working together as a team and understanding that different roles have different expertise, but allowing them to participate.
Yeah, just my view on this one. So obviously it depends on the type of product you are. If you're an API platform, it's different than other types of products and so on. But I think with engaging with the dev team, it's always about process and structure, and it has to, I guess you have to look for your champions and leaders who want to be that close. Every team's different, but all teams are incredibly busy, and especially when it's outside your general comfort zone, knowing when to allocate resources to it and stuff can be really challenging. And I know dev teams are often under a lot of pressure to ship and get things done. But often what we look for are people who are naturally gravitating towards wanting to understand the end user. There's always groups of people in teams that are like that, and those are often great people to lead something like that. Obviously, if someone isn't, that's not their one of the things they're necessarily as passionate about, you're going to get a level that might not be as helpful as someone that is. So look for those champions. They're the ones that lap up every kind of bit of research content that comes into the dev team channels and into their processes. So definitely find those people to help you get that up and running.
Yeah, that's some great advice across all fronts. And one other thing that we think of sometimes that our customers go through when trying to engage developers in this process, meet them where they are. It might not make sense to involve them in the research planning part of the process if it's too removed from their day-to-day or their thinking, and if they're not as aware of the value of research as of yet. So sometimes, instead of involving them in that part of the process, some of our customers will have these research ride-alongs or research roadshows where they'll use actually one of our features called observer rooms, which is essentially like live streaming interviews that are happening without your stakeholders needing to be in the room with participants at the moment in time. And so that allows you as researchers to expose the research process and the interview process to developers and what it actually looks like in action. And then once they have that empathy, that understanding, that belief in the importance of research, then you can slowly start to reveal more parts of the process to them, get them more involved piece by piece. But depending on the maturity of your organization and the involvement of developers, it might make sense to start a little bit lighter and involve them in watching research as opposed to the planning part.
Yeah, and I'll just read in a comment by Ben, which talks about how their company, how his company does this. So it reminds me a little bit of when you hear companies that require everyone to do support tickets once a quarter or twice a year. And it's a top-down cultural thing. So it has to come down from the belief that being closer to the end users, regardless of your role, is going to benefit your work, no matter what type of work that is. So if that is a top-down belief, then it has to be driven through that. And then those people will, to make sure they're part of the company culture, which believes that, they get involved in research, and you make it as simple as possible for them to do it, and you allocate the time, and that's how those companies who are super custom-centric get it done. And that's no different for if you wanted to do that with research. So that's it's a great thing to do, a great challenge, of course, but the benefits hopefully made themselves clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other interesting thing in Ben's comment is it forced the culture to emerge. I think when we're talking about self-serve research programs, it's not just about processes and tools. It is a culture change within some companies. And so how do you kind of influence that in the right way? Another question that I'm seeing from Kim in the chat is, does the connection between Rally and Ballpark allow the researcher to provide participant feedback if they are not a good participant. Yeah, Oren and Murat, I'll pass that one over to both of you.
Yeah, so we have a reporting function which has several different ways to report that participant or that response. With many of those requiring your own feedback to help us make the platform better. It will go back to the panel. It will also allow us to spot that ahead of time in the future. So it's it's the best way for the quality of participants to get better overall, is to let us know when they're not meeting your standards.
Yeah, and then on our side, similar story. Rally primarily operates as a CRM for you to manage your own customer relationships. So if it's one of your own users that lied or was a bad participant of some sort, you're able to add them to a block list, leave notes, put a rating on their profile, which allows you to set those rules, make sure that other folks don't fall into that same trap in the future.
Perfect. Great. All right. Well, yeah, jumping back to I guess the conversation we were having previously, and I know that Lauren, you mentioned that you're using Dovetail to sort of have like a home base for the insights that you are discovering. I'm curious, here's another question. How do you make sure that they are actually being used? And I guess that's going across the board from PMs and designers within the context of a self-serve program.
Yeah, definitely. I think having the space to make those insights that are coming from your research discoverable and actionable. So like I said before, we use Dovetail, but you can have any type of research repository. It could be Notion or Confluence, anything like that. These insights, as long as they're easily searchable, we also have tags, so different themes that we have within our company, and also making sure that these are framed in a way that connects to the business or product decision. So making sure that your insights are available for everyone. And then the second thing is also showcasing that research impact. So highlighting, the insights that have influenced these product decisions, and also what we've talked about this entire time of creating that culture of, making sure that everyone that's doing research is confident and able to, share those out and use this going forward.
Perfect. And sort of, oh, sorry, were you gonna go ahead?
Nope, that's all. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Great. Okay. Yeah, totally. And so I'm seeing another question in the chat focused on quality again, which we kind of touched on at the beginning, but I'm curious if there's anything else you want to share about maybe even from the perspective of like gathering those insights so that whatever, the team is using on Dovetail side is being used appropriately in regards to quality. So yeah, any thoughts here?
So I've got, I can talk about our kind of perspective on it. So we touched on it a bit at the beginning around where all of our products start to have the guardrails in to ensure that people are asking the right questions. They're not asking leading questions. When they're getting insights, the insights are based on some of the objectives of the project and not some random stuff. So those are things that we're gradually building towards. As I sort of showed in the demo, we have the ability to sort of create questions and tasks through AI. There are many ways that Ballpark can be a coach to you in a live interview session as well, which we're looking at, and some exciting stuff that we're working on there. But the idea being that we want to level up everyone to be able to do more self-serve research no matter what role they're in, and to do that you've got to take baby steps to get them in, and then gradually help them improve over time. So this kind of idea of progressive enhancement is something we work a lot on. So the getting started should be really quick, but under the hood there should be a lot of power that you eventually unlock by moving forward a bit. That's one side of it. And I know when speaking to customers, they have many different ways of ensuring quality. One is a sign-off process for getting studies out, where it might go through one or two different people. to help with that, we have our own research services team who can overlook things to make sure that when they're going out the door, and we take the load off our customers as well, to make sure that we just get a pair of eyes on things to make sure they're going out to the right audience, or you're recruiting the right demographics from the panels. So there are both automated and sort of manual processes that we go through, and every company is different. The way they interact with us is different, the way they interact with Ballpark's different. So whether that's through email, Slack, or just a live chat, you have to kind of, like Oren was talking about, you have to meet people where they are, and not everyone's going to be ready to sort of go all guns blazing straight away. So we got to try and ensure that they can get their way to what is going to be hopefully great quality responses and insights.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, seeing some good conversation in the chat about repository tools to make the ultimate dream team. I like this comment. But yeah, so everyone in the chat, please feel free to keep chatting. I think, yeah, it's super important to share some ideas in there. We have a few minutes left. So Lauren, I will give you one final question here. What advice would you give to teams who are just starting to build a self-serve research program?
Definitely. Okay. So to kick off something which I think is something that we've also done, I've done myself in the past year, is I would say start small and structured, kind of have maybe a few people that you want to use to test out your templates with, or your guidelines, and set those up and see how it works out with them. We tested out our self-service for non-researchers with a small group of people, seeing how they liked it and what was working out and what was missing, and then having that space open for feedback. I think what's really important for myself, and I think for other people too, is to have that space where they can connect with us, share their feedback, and then we can build from there. So start small, and then build out where you can. And you can also use the maturity matrix, has been really helpful for us as well, seeing where you're at in your company, and then seeing all the different spots where you can level up.
Yep, totally. Yeah, we'll drop the link to the maturity matrix as well in case folks haven't seen it. Oren or Murat, do you want to share any advice here that you've seen from customers just getting started?
Yeah, just on our side, we see a real mix. So we see the primary stakeholder for Ballpark's implementation being a VP of product or VP of design. Then we also actually see someone in head of research or research leadership bringing on Ballpark. So there's a real mix. The approaches are very different. Where there isn't an existing research function in the business, or maybe a very light touch one with a few various tools that are used, or maybe one or two individuals, we often see that there is a certain objective, by at least on the product or design side, that a percentage of the team members must be doing a study a month at a certain point in time, right? Or something like that. It's a usage-based metric, which is easy for them to understand whether it's being effective or not. So I tend to think that idea of democratization is often on their side driven by a metric of some sort, which I think is really useful. It's not always perfect, because a study doesn't necessarily mean a good study, but they just need to get going go from 0 to 1, and it's helpful to know that you're actually moving forward by at least some usage criteria. So that's how they approach it. And then on the where we see, I guess our stakeholders come from the research leadership side, they're often looking for some level of efficiency gains. So it could be that they know that the capacity their researchers have is maxed out, and there's no more room for new studies or be able to fulfill requests anymore. And then there's an overflow, and that overflow needs to be managed, right? So then there's a measurable thing there, which is, okay, how many requests are we now dealing with, and how many have we self-served? But to have those ideas beforehand, just of what problems you want to solve by bringing in our tools, is really helpful, because at some point, you can go look back at every quarter and go, okay, we're making progress, as opposed to what is kind of a little bit more ambiguous of we've got some insights, and what have we done with those insights? Did it ship? Did we make more money? Did it in retention? And that's quite hard to tie back into what's working. But if your goal is to self-serve research and democratize it, then you could put together at least a couple of metrics, which is like, okay, the percentage of people using these tools, the amount of studies we're doing, and then on the quality side, you kind of need to find a way to go from those numbers into the quality at the next step. But the main thing is just getting people started, right? So you can't self-serve, you can't look at those metrics if no one's even using it. So where are you at today? Where would you like to be in 6 months or a year's time? And then work backwards from there.
Yeah, totally. I think that makes it, setting those smaller goals makes it more realistic, and, it's easier to track success that way, I think. Oren, any final thoughts here before we wrap up?
No, I think we covered a lot of great things today. Just start small, and yeah, don't be afraid to experiment, and yeah, just run with it, and also don't be afraid to reach out to fellow community members and folks who've been there, done that in the past. There's some great resources like the ReOps community and other places where, including the types of events that we run here at Rally, where you'll be able to meet many other folks who are going through the same thing, and sometimes that just helps to be able to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today and asking your questions and using the chat. It's been really fun to spend the last hour with you, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.